welcome to the podcast here at Swoosh English. My name is Una.
And I'm Scott.
And today we are doing a bit of a different podcast. We aren't going to be talking about specific details of the PTE exam or the IELTS exam or any English exam, but we're talking about that new news that was announced this year in September when the UK government announced that they would be extending their graduate visa, for any potential students who are going to enroll in the 2020-21 year
Precisely.
in the UK. So it's really exciting news for any potential students who want to come and study in the UK at the many prestigious universities we have on offer.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to break this down and make sure everyone understands what is involved with this new legislation.
Okay, so the most important detail about this is that in September 2019, so 2 months ago, the British government announced that a new graduate open to all international students, in which that they will be able to live in the UK for 2 years following any course of education while looking for employment.
Yeah.
That's a big extension as well, because it was 4 months previously.
Exactly. It was 4 months. So in 2012, it had been 2 years, but then in 2012 it was cancelled and it was reduced to 4 months. So a lot of students, of course, found that this wasn't long enough in order for them to secure a job.
It's really not as well, because a lot of employers just simply aren't really going to take the chance for some students, maybe for sponsorship reasons as well. So that 4 month window really wasn't a lot of time that following the commencement of your studies to try and find a full-time
following
job
the conclusion of your studies. Yeah, definitely. So it wasn't long enough. So this has really come to the as good news to the ears of any budding students who have decided that actually they don't want to conclude their time in the UK just when they finish their degree. They want to get experience working within the variety of businesses and companies that we have here to offer in the UK. So it's really good news. And of course, the government is doing this because they want to start recruiting and retaining the best talent from many different countries throughout the world and keep them in the UK because they have a lot to offer.
Precisely.
And the UK government is really keen to build the workforce in relation to building science, in relation to technology and research.
Research as well.
Yeah.
So that's
engineering.
Engineering.
These kind of things.
So a lot of companies are looking to expand upon their talent pool, and the UK wants to ensure that these companies do get the best of the best. So that's why opening up this scheme as well will ensure that companies don't just have to rely on local graduate and experts, but also people who are highly experienced in their field. So that's where you guys come in from all the way across the world, bringing your experience to these.
Definitely. So shall we just break it down with some questions that people might be asking about this new legislation and then provide an answer to that question?
Yeah, I suppose one key question that a lot of people had is when will this legislation come into effect?
Yes.
And that's important because even though the legislation was only announced there in September 2019, it actually won't come into effect until the 2020 and 2021 academic year.
Yes.
So that's actually the following academic year.
So it's starting January next year. So it's any students enrolling for the 2020-2021 academic year will be eligible for this 2-year extension visa following the completion of their studies.
So that means if you are in a study program, higher education or above within that year, then you are eligible for that visa extension. So that will be from September next year until the following
exactly.
year.
There is a bit of a confusion around, students who are currently in the UK studying. Will they only have that 4 month extension, or will they get to stay the 2 years also? So there's a bit of confusion around that at the minute, and it hasn't actually really been confirmed, but it will be hopefully confirmed going forward.
I just recommend keeping up to date on the government websites about what this legislation is and just keeping yourself in the know. But if you're starting next year, then you are in the green.
Next September,
you are in the green for it.
Good.
So 2021
academic year.
Academic year. The Home Office has announced that. Our second question would be, who will be eligible for this visa extension?
So it's eligible for students from all countries. Yeah. So it's very open, and it means that anyone who has a valid immigration status, who has a Tier 4 visa in order to study, will be eligible for this 2-year extension.
So everyone in the world is eligible for this?
Yeah.
Wow.
So anyone who will, by the time they graduate, have completed a course in any subject at undergraduate level and above at an approved UK higher education provider will be eligible for this 2-year extension visa.
That's amazing. So if you actually fulfill that criteria, then you could be on. Now, of course, you do have to remember as well that in order to actually get a place on a university, higher education, university program, that you need to demonstrate your English levels are sufficient enough. So you will need to have a sufficient score in either the IELTS or PTE examinations prior to that. And of course, we at Swoosh English can help you with that.
And we can talk a wee bit more about PTE and IELTS towards the end of the podcast today.
Of course, absolutely.
Definitely.
Okay.
So what about after the 2 years then?
So after 2 years, this is according to the Department of Education, this is a direct quote, those on the route will be able to switch on to the skilled work route if they find a job which meets the skilled requirement of the route. So that pretty much puts everyone in a better position to actually find meaningful work on this 2-year visa, because the Department of Education is supporting you in that endeavour and also giving you that 2-year period to do so.
Yeah, so even if you complete your 2-year period, you will then be able to switch on to a skilled work route, which you can look into more when the time comes, and potentially extend your stay in the UK for a long time.
Yeah, so there you go, potentially unlimited.
Okay, so what kind of jobs can I apply for?
Well, the best point about this is that there's actually no restriction in the amount of jobs that can be applied for. Graduates can apply for any field in any area of expertise and any level, regardless of their skills or even the subject that they studied.
Yeah, very good. That's great news, isn't it? So you can apply for any job regardless of your skills or your subject.
And that's actually significant as well, because previous to that as well, during the 4-month period in which students could get this basically had that window to find work after they finished their studies, that they found it very hard to find work, and that they found that many employers were very reluctant to sponsor them, given like the risk and the cost with spending this money on a international talent and not being able to legally stay in the country. So this new visa will go a lot of the way to solve this problem, and they can work a lot longer without even considering going down that sponsorship route.
Definitely, it's really good news.
It's very popular. Is there a restriction on the number of students who can work in the UK on the visa?
And more good news. No, there is going to be no cap on the number of students who can benefit from this new graduate visa. So it's open to any students who gain a place at a university that has been is an approved UK education provider and that they have passed their course. So another, The Guardian also clarified,
which are independent news media in the UK,
that under the new policy, the visas would have no cap on numbers and would allow graduates to apply for jobs regardless of their skills or the subject they studied. The government said part of the aim was to recruit talented graduates in disciplines such as maths, engineering and technology. Tongue twisted there. Technology, yeah. So there's no cap. So that is all good news.
Fantastic. And of course, this is great news as well for anyone who's coming from India, because the British High Commission in New Delhi noted all of this is particularly exciting news for students in India, because Indians are coming to the UK in increasing numbers. Because I guess of the strength of the Indian economy, the amount of professionals that are being educated in the country and want to obviously go and refine their skills elsewhere in the world, and thinking about obviously technology, science, healthcare, medicine as well.
Yeah.
Lots of people are coming across. So
yes. I believe that in the year ending 2019, June 2019, it was reaching almost 22,000 Indians coming into the UK in order to work or study. Yeah.
Which is actually a 42% increase from 2018.
That's exciting, isn't it?
That's a massive increase in 1 year as well.
So this 2-year extension should only serve to increase that amount of number of people, the number of people coming from India.
Yeah, so it's good news as well. Like if you're wanting to come and live in the UK and practice your profession, then there's actually a lot more opportunity and scope for you to do so if you are from India.
Fantastic. Definitely. Very good.
So another interesting statistic shows that pretty much 96% of all Indians who are applying for a visa are being granted one. I mean, that's only 4% of these 22,000 people that are being turned away.
Yeah, and that's any visa. So whether it's your, someone coming as a visitor, someone coming as a student. So yeah, it's all good.
Yeah.
But yeah, and more than 56,000 Indians received skilled work visas, and that's also a 5% increase compared to other years. So that's also an interesting statistic, skilled work visas.
So that's massive as well. I mean, not only, of course, so that means pretty much if you can come on this extension visa, pretty much no matter what nationality you are, there's a lot of scope now for Indian workers who are coming across as well and wanting to make that. But not just if you're Indian as well. That scope applies to pretty much everybody. There's no discrimination. If you have the skills and the job and the graduate degree, then you have a 2-year period to pretty much get in, which is a sufficient amount of time for you to get so. And employers are more approving of hiring you as well.
Yeah, open to international graduates.
Fantastic.
Very good.
Okay, so what is the process to apply to a UK educational institution? So obviously you need to first of all apply to the educational institution, and then obviously pass your course, and then you have that 2-year period at the end. So there's a few steps you need to get on before you reach that point. So let's discuss the process.
So in order to get a place at the university, obviously coming from a country where English is not your native language, well then you're going to need to prove your English abilities in order to get that visa and to get that place at that university. So of course you can do this. You can prove your English abilities and skills via the PTE test, PTE academic, or the IELTS exam. And of course, PTE is a really up and coming exam now. It's really growing in popularity. It is a computer based test. So that means a secure English language test that you carry. Every skill is carried out on the computer.
On the computer,
yeah. And what different sections is it broken down into?
So there are 3 different sections of the PTE test. You have section 1 is speaking and writing. It's the longest part of the test. You then have the second section, which is reading, and the third section, which is listening. So you are assessed across the 4 different sub skills, like IELTS as well too. But there are a few notable differences between Pearson and who are the company behind PTE and IELTS as well. Well, one that even though the IELTS test, for example, is accepted everywhere, Pearson is catching up with 98% of UK universities and colleges accepting PTE as a demonstration of your English language skills. So obviously make sure that depending on what institution you're studying at, make sure you check if the Pearson test will be accepted. Accept the form of your English language skills.
And also make sure that you are sure what score you're required to receive.
Yes.
In order to get onto your chosen course. So make sure you...
So that can vary. I've seen as little as 60 or as much as like 75, 79 plus in the test as well. Also interesting about the PTE examination is that it's got the quickest turnaround of all tests as well.
Isn't it?
IELTS can take a long time for you to get your result because there's a lot more happening involving vigilators and markers, whereas everything is assessed by the computer. By the algorithm. So it makes things a lot quicker with a turnaround of about 1.2 days. So it's really quick on average.
Yeah.
Also, the PTE test, you can do the test at any point throughout the year, and you can book online up to 24 hours in advance.
That's good too, isn't it? That's really interesting. You can just decide to do the exam.
Well, precisely, because you don't actually have to hire a pool of examination staff. It's all done by the computer. The computer never sleeps.
Yeah.
So it's fantastic.
Very good.
The test also lasts for 3 hours maximum, so it can all be done in one single sitting as well.
That's different as opposed to IELTS too, isn't it?
Yeah, where it's done in 2 sittings. Where the listening, the reading, and the writing are separate to the speaking section. Which is important.
Very good.
Okay, and also the score can be submitted to as many institutions as you like, and no extra cost. There's no administration. There's no administration costs there, and you can take the test in test centres in the UK or in one of the 250 plus global test centre networks across the country as well.
Excellent.
It's also known to be highly impartial as well because everything
is on the computer.
It's done by a computer. There's no biases from an examiner, no different ideas. It's all going to be assessed the exact same
which
way.
is, in relation to speaking, that can be a concern for people. So that is quite interesting that this new exam has come out.
So the PTE test is definitely a very modern take on the academic English test compared to IELTS, and it definitely is something you should consider for your own English language needs.
Yeah.
So let's now talk about the traditional IELTS exam as well. So the International English Language Testing System is accepted by all British universities and colleges. It is obviously the most established international English language examination format in the world, so therefore it's also the most widely accepted.
Yeah, so there are almost 1,600 IELTS test centres that you can go and take your test worldwide, and of course you can choose between IELTS General and IELTS Academic, the IELTS General Training Exam, IELTS Academic, but I think most people choose the IELTS Academic exam in order to get into university.
For sure, because IELTS General is only for immigrational purposes, but if you want to study abroad, then you have to do the IELTS Academic examination, in which the parameters are harder, it's higher score you have to get, as well as being slightly more difficult and complicated as well. So make sure you obviously study that in advance. As I said, most people take the IELTS academic test, but obviously you need to check this out. Shall we go through a few interesting facts about the IELTS examination?
Yeah, let's look at some interesting facts. So the test actually lasts 2 hours and 45 minutes.
So slightly shorter than PTE, but not by that much.
Not much. And it assesses, of course, again, your listening, your reading, your writing, and your speaking.
So your test costs those 4 different subsections.
With the listening and reading and writing sections taking part on the one day, but then the speaking perhaps is on another day.
It can be on the same day or another day.
Yes.
Often you come back for that as an individual session.
Very good.
Now, for IELTS Academic and IELTS General, the listening and the speaking are the same no matter what test you are doing. But the reading and the writing sections will differ. There will be different tasks to do. For example, in IELTS Academic, the writing tasks are a chart or graph description as well as an essay. Whereas in IELTS General, you might have to write a letter or comment on a picture. So it's different. Also, the tasks in IELTS Academic reading section, well, there's 3 tasks compared to 4, and they are longer and more complicated as well, given like the more difficult nature of the test, given that you want to study abroad. But everything else is the exact same.
Very good.
There's also no breaks between the listening, the reading, and the writing sections, all done in a row, whereas there are short breaks between the PTE examination sections. Okay. And the speaking section often is done on a different day. However, it can be completed up to it can be up to 1 week earlier than the other tests. So you obviously can assess that on a different day, which might be a disadvantage if you want to get it all out of the way in one day.
Or it could give you a break.
You could get a break and also do it another day as well. So it's very important. So yeah, once again, make sure that you assess which English language test you want to do for studying at your relevant university. Both have their own pros and cons, their own advantages, disadvantages, but both, of course, are great options.
And of course, here at Swoosh English, we offer assistance in order to help you with both of these exams, and any tips, practice activities, and lots of teacher feedback as well if you're thinking of taking this exam.
Which is fantastic, and of course, it is the first step for you to get here and study the United Kingdom. And then, of course, use those 2 years afterwards to find that job.
To find work in the UK.
So we're the first port of call for you guys. We'd love to see you here at Swoosh English for your IELTS and your PTE needs. So that's pretty much it. Great news.
Yes.
You now have a 2-year extension onto your studies, from 4 months on to 2 years now, for you to find a job after you have completed your academic course here in the United Kingdom. So the possibilities are endless, and you really should take advantage of that. It's fair and it's open to everyone as well.
Yeah. Okay, so we really hope that you got some of the questions, maybe if you were confused about this new extension, were answered here today on this podcast, and you got all the advice you need. So we'll see you again soon.
We'll see you again soon. Also, of course, maybe things may change quite quickly. I just want to also mention that you can obviously look up advice regarding how this might change, especially when it might be implemented. What about the students what are the students doing currently?
Who currently are studying,
on www.gov.uk will be the official government website where you can find that information.
Yeah.
So thanks a lot for watching today, and we will see you again for some more podcasts here at Swoosh English.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.